I am here. And welcome to another waffling from me on a subject that I found quite interesting, the magic of Eau de Cologne. So why did this come about? Because I got curious, basically. I noticed that I'd seen several recordings from different people extolling the virtues of Florida water. And I would be very surprised if there were people out there who had never heard of Florida water. And I thought, well, hold on a minute. I don't know a lot about this. I've known about Florida water. I've actually used Florida water in the past for different things. I don't currently use it in my practice now. I've moved on. But it got me thinking, where did Florida water come from? Why did it get developed? Why is it still so widely used? Did it have a predecessor? You now have an insight into my brain and the way my brain works. So I did a little bit of investigating and I thought I'd come and share it with you because maybe somebody else will find it interesting. There will be a blog to go along with this, which will give a few more details. But what I found was that Florida water was first manufactured in New York in 1808 and very, very rapidly took over the whole of the Americas. And that's what got me interested then in the rest of it, because I thought, hold on a minute. One, why was this first made? And two, why did it literally, and I mean the whole of the Americas, we're not just talking about North America and the USA, we're talking about Mexico, we're talking about South America, because it is used in spiritual practices right the way across the Americas. Now, New York, my geography is not good, so New York to me is up there, and it's gone all the way down there, right to the very tip. Is that the Horn? Really Good Hope. You see, my geography's not good. But right down to the very bottom, which I think is Peru. I could be wrong. My geography isn't good. But it's literally gone right the way through the country in a matter of years, because we know it's used in hoodoo. We know it's used in Santeria. We know it's used in Bruja, because these are living magical traditions who extol the virtues of Florida water. And it's a wonderful cleansing, aromatic water. Its name actually doesn't derive from the fact it comes from Florida, because it doesn't. It was manufactured and, as far as I know, is still manufactured in New York. The name Florida comes from its floral aspects in the aroma, but also because the Fountain of Youth, that mythical thing, was said to be in Florida. So because it was a magical aromatic water, they called it Florida water. It's also called, and I'm going to look at this because every time I try and say it, I say it wrong. So I'm just going to find where it says that it was Aqua Mirabilis, or the non-Latin version, Miracle Water. And I thought, okay, right. So people were going to America either voluntarily or being forced over those years. So I wondered whether there was something that had already been in use over this side of the pond. And immediately I thought, Eau de Colognes. Let's have a look at those. There it was. Now, because we haven't got a continuous live living experience tradition over in Europe, There are some, there are pockets where we've pieced together, but we haven't got the same active lineage as those other traditions in the Americas that I've mentioned, Bruges and Santorina and Santa Muerta and Hoodoo. So we haven't got anything written down or anything that I can definitely tell you, I found this. So this is me now hypothesizing that people arrived in America by whatever means, and they needed a magical water of some kind to help them. And that is how Florida water came about. All the colognes were originally, from what I can gather, made as a cleansing agent. Whether that was because of the smells of the time or whether that was because of plague and pestilence and everything else. But they were used primarily as cleansing agents. And that makes sense because they do smell wonderful on the whole. So you arrive in America and you haven't got exactly the same ingredients. You've got similar. But you're also on a new land, a land that is quite hostile. You don't understand how it works. It has some similarities, but it also has a lot of differences. And this is me, this is my hypothesis, my gnosis, whatever you want to think. I think the difference, because Florida water has got citrus in it and floral, but it also packs a spicy punch too. And for me, my feeling is that those spices were added not only because they were available over there, but because they needed that extra oomph in their water rather than the softer, more gentle aromatics that are over here. Just my thought. Let me know in the comments if when you see this. Let me know in the comments what you think. Anyway, so the first Eau de Cologne was developed by an Italian perfumer who was living in Cologne. His name was Johann Maria Farina, and that was in 1709. That's the first recorded version that we know of. And his formulation was inspired by the citrus notes from his homeland. So it was a light and citrusy. It's a blend of bergamot, lemon, neroli, orange, and lavender. Apparently there is still this sort of like tick, 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 because one of the most well-known and oldest eau de colognes, which is still in production, isn't from his factory. It's actually this one. It's for 7-Eleven. And this was developed by a Wilhelm Müllens, who I think is possibly German, and lived in Cologne. And this has been in continuous production since 1792 in the form that we know it now. The exact formulation is still not released to the general public. We know that it's got bergamot and neroli in there, but we don't know what else. Very interesting. I was first gifted a bottle of this as a child. I know. It's not something you'd think somebody would give a child. But I was given a bottle of this. And the stopper then used to be covered in wax. And when you took the wax off, some of the wax stayed on. And then there was like it must have been a hard plastic. It wasn't. So there was a hard plastic. And then under that, there was a cork. And I remember the bottle because the actual bottle shape is still exactly the same. It's just now there is a metal lid to the bottles. Yeah, and I used to love playing with this because it is light, uplifting, happy, fragrant. So I used to put this on my dolls. Yeah, even back then I was anointing things without even realizing it. Um, but yeah, and you can get soaps. You can get Florida water soaps as well, by the way. So yeah, you can actually get soaps. I don't know if I got it up the right way so you can see the writing, but it's actually got the writing of 4711 on it. This is my latest bar. Um, anyway, back to not sniffing and telling you more about. So anyway, so I looked at the properties of Florida water and 4711. Oh, by the way, so when I was a child and I was given a bottle of this, the myth I was told was that the person who invented it had 11 children, 4 of which were boys, 7 of which were girls, and that gave him the name 4711. Actually, it's the name of the building where it is still produced to this day. I won't even try and say it. Will I try and say it? Cologne's Glockenglas, number 4711. So it's still made in that same building. But anyway, I digress again. I looked at the properties of Florida water and of 4711 because that's the cologne that I am most used to. There are, as I say, if you go, Rachel has actually been in the cologne factory of the Farinas, and there's this still this bickering between the Farinas and the Mulhans as to who's the actual cologne makers. But anyway, so there are hundreds of colognes, but 4711 is the one that I am most familiar with, having used it since I was a child. So I looked at the properties of both of them and thought, okay, let's see if I can come to any conclusions. And yes, I did. First one I've already given you is that my take is that the spices were added to the Florida water to give it extra oomph because they're on a new land. They're having to rebuild their lives. They needed that extra powerhouse. But the similarities are just. So I suggest for any individual wanting to incorporate an eau de cologne into their magical workings, find one that you like. I'm not going to say any of them are better than the others because it's totally up to you. What are they used for? Cleansing, like I said. So yourself, you can rub it in your hands, rub it on the back of your neck, especially powerful as a protector on the back of your neck. You can add a few drops to your bath water. You could add a few drops onto your sponge if you're showering. You can spray your space. This is obviously a dropper bottle. You can buy spray bottles. You can also just get the dropper bottle and tip some out into a spray and use it as a spray. You can put it on your hands and or onto a cloth and clean your altar space. The items on your altar, if you're doing a ritual or you're doing a spell, you can use it on your hands to clean the items, cleanse them of any energy. If you're doing it on candles, remember this has got, as does Florida water, a very high alcohol content, so let it evaporate before you actually light the candles. What else? Offerings. I know Santa Muerta especially loves Florida water as an offering. I would assume that's the same in most other of the traditions that use it. I've certainly found that deity that I interact with, like a little drop of this in a little glass occasionally. I intersperse it with other things, plain water, other fluids of not my own. I'm talking about sometimes wine, sometimes I've even used Coke. I've gone past my altar with a glass of Coke and suddenly thought, oh yeah, you want some? Okay, gone and got another little glass and put some. It varies. So this isn't always on my altar, but it has been. So an aromatic gift. basically, in your spell working. So add it to poppets, add it to petitions, little drop here, little drop there, rub it on your hands, hold it in your hands. So specifically spells I would use it for would be healing or the removal of negative energy. What it does do, it's very uplifting, which I'm going to come to. So I think it actually clears psychic blockages so that just clears and aids in so many things, which I will come to, because the next two are it's uplifting, applied to the body to answer, make you feel good. It can reduce stress at the very least, and it can enhance your happiness and your tranquility. Also, communication. So again, as offering to a deity, but in spell working, if you need clarity, sorry, I will keep sniffing it, and any form of communication, whether it's earthly or spiritual, I would say it was useful. I would also use it for attraction. So for spells for affection, to resolve any issues or obstacles in a relationship. You could add it to romantic evenings as well. Yeah, it would attract. I'm going to pick up the soap and sniff that rather than undo the bottle. Yeah, attract love and to heal relationships. In the home, add a few drops to your floor wash, add a few drops onto your cloth as you're damp dusting your house, put a few drops around your windows, around your doorways to protect and to keep out unwanted energies. But yeah, very, very protective as well. How about aiding in divination? Use it for cleaning your hands before you use any of your normal methods, whether that be tarot or bones or runes. But how about a couple of drops in your scrying water? Yeah, I think so. That's how I would do it anyway. And prosperity. Because it is so happy and joyous, it's got to have prosperity in there. So what I would do is I would probably add a drop to a coin or a petition or a sigil, and I would either keep that in my purse or in a pocket, or I'd leave it on my altar. What I would remember to do is to keep giving it a little drop every now and again, because you want to keep those finances moving. So it's the sort of thing that once you've started doing it, you need every now and again to add another little drop. Say thank you for what you've already received and more, please. Can I think of anything else at the moment? Not at the moment. And I have been waffling now for nearly 20 minutes, and that's more than enough for anybody. So yeah, those are just a few of my ideas and my take on Florida water versus Eau de Cologne. What would you use it for? Do you use it? Would you think of using it? And if you do, what do you use it for? What would you use it for? Put it in the comments underneath, and don't forget there is a blog with some more information and the sources that I used. So if you want to go off and do a little more of a deep dive, you can go off and do that. See you next time.